Hi there, welcome back. This is module 4 of my mini course masterclass series in communicating like a leader. So let's have a look what's upcoming in this module. So in the last one, we looked at what it means to be human-centered in our communication and utilizing that concept of intentionality, as well as looking at that 7-step planning communication tool that's going to support you to feel prepared. Now I'm going to introduce this idea that all great leaders communicate with stories. And this really sits as a complement or side by side with this concept of intentionality, where we create that mindset shift. So today I'm going to be sharing with you how we can build confidence through change and also the 3 key parts to storytelling. So, before we dive into a reflective exercise and look at those 3 key parts, I feel that it's a nice point to look at how people are describing leadership communication. Have your core values there. See how they align or connect with what resonates for you. So the first one is by Paul Gunn. He's a leadership thought leader. And he says when an employee or a team states that they don't understand something, leadership communication addresses the concern by showing the team members they hear them. And if there are steps to be taken, they move on to get it done. They speak from the heart and consider others on the team. For me, the parts that are resonating here, if I'm thinking about a leader being a great storyteller, is showing the team members that they hear them. So creating a story of change that actually connects to challenges or pain points of the team members, speaking from the heart, being genuine and real and personable. The second quote I have here is by Dr. Dawn Cohn. She's an executive coach, and she says, "A good leader is keenly aware of the business goals as well as the strengths and weaknesses of their people and seeks to create an environment that encourages forward momentum through a combination of critical information and motivating engagement and buy-in." So I've highlighted the parts that are resonating for me when I think about storytelling: being a leader with great communication skills, encouraging forward momentum. So taking people on a journey to be inspired, to feel high energy in that period of change, motivating engagement and buy-in, not coercing, not forcing, not persuading, not nudging, but motivating. So people feel that they are playing a key part in the change. And we're moving forward. So people are feeling progress towards something. So, what's the cause? What's the aligned mission? What's the commonality here? Leadership is not about necessarily being the loudest in the room, but instead being the bridge or the thing that is missing in the discussion and trying to build a consensus from there. Jacinta Ardern, who's the ex-Prime Minister of New Zealand. Wonderful piece here about being the bridge. So for me, that's bringing up connection and resonating with this idea that we're all on a cause together. We all are part of a mission, that we all have a place within the story. And building a consensus is nicely tying into this idea that we're motivating engagement and buy-in. So we want people to feel that change is also coming from them. The last one is great communication begins with connection. Oprah Winfrey, one of the greatest leaders in media, straight and to the point. It starts with connection. And that feels like it's very personable again. It sounds as though there's a commonality there. It ties in with the bridge. So, how does connection play a part in storytelling? Let's keep moving and see what we can find out. So, a reflective exercise before we move forward. you've had a chance to feel inspired by some of those quotes that I've just shared. How would you describe leadership communication, and perhaps how are you bringing in your core values that you identified in module 1 to describe what leadership communication means for you? So take a pause, take a moment. I'll see you in a moment. Welcome back. So let's have a look at the 3 key parts of storytelling. But before we do that, I want to stitch together why it was important for us to look at intentionality. So we started in a place of human-centered approach that ties in or connects with how we're communicating as leaders, right? We're elevating our communication skills. Let's remind ourselves, intentionality had 2 pieces: the mindset shift. How do we want to change the as is of the person or the present state to take them to a future state? How they feel, their emotions, their mind frame. And the second part was the responsibility shift. So, do we want them to respond in a particular way, or maybe even respond differently to the way that they always have, which means that we need to do something different? And also, do we want them to do something? Do we want them to implement actions or change their behaviors? So we've got the mindset shift and the responsibility shift. And I said we'd look at how building confidence is going to facilitate change. And what we are doing when we are incorporating intentionality into storytelling, we are binding or creating confidence in the story that we are communicating or sharing with the person or persons. And we are also creating more confidence or higher assurance levels in ourselves when we are taking people through change. So if we are seeing even just small shifts in a person, in how they feel, how they're responding, the actions they are taking, they will start to feel more confidence in the change that is happening. Process change, policy change, targets change, the way that we manage clients can change. So anything that's happening at work, really that comes down to a fundamental change, which is why I'm using that C word so much. Confidence is going to ensure that we've got a temperature check in a way that people understand the journey that they're going on. And we are doing as much as we can within our modus of control to facilitate that change. The best leaders communicate in stories. What do I mean by that? So let's have a look at the 3 key elements of storytelling. The first one is personal connection. The second is a better future. And the third is inspire to take part. So let's have a look at each of those in turn. Personal connection. So the great qualities or the great bridge that a personal connection creates is a bond to the other person in something. We connect with other people based on commonalities. Passion, desires, values, strengths, sacrifices, community, creating community aligned to a cause, a hobby, a value that's important. A sense of belonging is created. So personal connection is vital when we think about being a great communicator, because we are bringing people together. So we can break that down to a granular level. So for example, if we wanted to change a policy, an existing policy, then I would look to understand what are the commonalities in perhaps our desires. What is it that we're working towards? What is it, the values that differentiates this organization I work with, and how are those values reflected and mirrored in the policy that I want to change? How am I going to bring people together so I can collaborate on that policy? How am I going to create one future that we're all working towards? And we all belong there. We all have a part to play there. It's only a policy, but if I'm able to create a connection to people, then that's going to support me to make the changes that I need to make. So, speaking the truth also supports us to create personal connections. People want to work with people. People trust people. They don't trust outcomes. They don't trust even past experiences to a certain extent. It's a great credibility and it shows reliability and consistency. But I want to hear now, what is it that you want me to do and why do you want me to do it? So, speaking the truth means that we're genuine and we're trusted now. And if you are consistently like that, then yes, your experiences in the past do carry some weight. The second piece is creating a better future. So, if we are communicating with a group of people and we are sharing with them that there is a change that is coming, how can we illustrate that that change is for the better? Even if it's really painful, it's definitely going to be worth it. So what we are doing is we are showing a return on our investment of pain that we need to put in right now. And people are very reluctant to change. It's so nice just to stay where you are, stay in safety, do things the way we've always done it. But what if you change something and you were able to save time, save energy, be more productive? Maybe if you did those things, you'd be able to get home and spend more time with your family or your children. Maybe that would mean that you have a healthier mindset, that you're not as anxious or you're not worried or stressed because actually the change we're implementing is based on systems and technology that's going to support you in your job, not take away your job. So we really want to show people that change leads to a better outcome. It leads to a better tomorrow, no matter how small or big that change is. If you cannot show the benefits to someone of the change, very difficult to get people to come on that journey with you. And the last part of storytelling, or being a great storyteller, is inspiring others to take part. Inspiring change means allowing people an opportunity to visualize a story. Part of that story means that they need to have a role somewhere. Doesn't matter if they're the sidekick or they're one of the extras in the background. Everybody has a role to play, and they need to feel inspired to be engaged, to want to take part, to essentially have buy-in. That's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to create buy-in to then take part in whatever change we're asking them to do. So these are the three elements. And now encourage a pause here and see if you can identify how these three areas might fit into your 7-step planning with intentionality. Okay. So you've taken an opportunity to have a look where 1, 2, or 3 of those elements might sit in the 7-step planning, because I said we will stitch this together. And here it is. How do you want the person to feel? How do you want them to respond? Preparing for that communication scenario and building skills of empathy and active listening and getting their perspective. So let's have a look at each one in turn. How do you want that person to feel? So wouldn't it be wonderful if they felt as though they connected to you? So there's something aligning you here. Is it the mission? Is it the passion that you both have? Is it the values that this change represents? What is it about the change that you're implementing that connects you? Also, if you want the other person to feel, say, empowered for the change, then you're inspiring them to take part. You're motivating them. You're showing them that they have huge value in the change that's upcoming. How do you want them to respond? Maybe the shift here is just that whatever change is coming, even though it impacts their role in a certain way, or it might mean that they need to change the way they're currently working, that it's okay because actually, once I do this, it's going to be better for me in the long run. Whether that means an outcome of better collaboration, more compliance, reduced costs, better engagement with their team, whatever it might be, thinking about how they want to respond. So maybe here it's about creating a better future. Maybe it's about them saying, what role can I play here? How can I take part in this project? So that would connect to them being inspired to be a part of the change. Preparing for the communication scenario, this feels like an all encompassing what is your story? What is it that you want to illustrate? And by that question, we are really looking at the tomorrow. What is the better tomorrow looking and feeling like for the person or the persons, the group, the function, the business unit? What is it that we are taking them towards? So, with the better future, how do we want them to feel? Coming back to the first question here, but do we want them again to feel inspired, to want the change, to offer their time and their resources? Perhaps someone will say, I'd love to get my team involved in this. So how are you going to prepare your story as such to get the result that you're looking for? Building skills of empathy, active listening, and getting perspective. So here we come back to the personal connection. So by understanding our audience, we can really understand what is important for them. We want to understand them. We want to hear their pain points, their challenges. We want to make things easier for them, not necessarily more complicated and more complex, but with ease, we are also illustrating benefits. And that can sometimes be difficult because sometimes where we have to present some further complexity, it doesn't necessarily feel easy. But how can you make their life a bit easier if that's within reach? But we are essentially asking them and gaining their perspective, their view, their experience of how we can improve this journey of change, this story of where it is we're working towards. So connecting to them, understanding what's important to them, again, setting the foundations of belonging, understanding what a better future might look like for them. Who says that? We need to dictate what that story outcome is. Perhaps it's collaboratively built. Let's work on it together. What can I do in my project that's going to help you to have a better tomorrow? How can I help you to do your job more effectively? Help me understand your challenges so that I can build into my program of change something that's going to support your team to work in a more streamlined way. So we can take people on the journey with us just by asking questions and asking them what we need. When was the last time you went out to the business and said, how can I help you? What is it that you need from me? So I hope that just talking that through, you can see how the three elements of personal connection, a better future, and inspire to change can connect in quite naturally into the 7-step planning with intentionality. So let's have a look at where you are on your journey to being a storyteller. So, looking at that paragraph that you wrote down earlier around what leadership communication looks and feels like for you, Does it incorporate in any way the three key parts of storytelling? Can you identify which parts of those three key elements that you're doing well right now, and perhaps the parts that you need to work on? Stitching together further, in the last module, I invited you to take an upcoming communication scenario and do the 7-step planning around that. If you were taking that same communication scenario and putting this lens almost, or this intention behind storytelling, how would that strengthen the steps that you need to go through to plan with intentionality? Is it going to support the result you're looking for? And if it does, then notice how it could support your result. Go out with courage and practice that. See how it is received, and then keep refining. So, as we wrap up module 4, there are 3 key takeaways that we should keep in mind going into module 5 that's going to support us to communicate like a leader. We're still staying human centered to elevate our communications. Being a storyteller is absolutely looking at how humans behave and respond. There's the 3 key parts to storytelling. And when you are planning your communications, you can look at those 3 parts as well. Really challenge yourself to start communicating or start interacting with people where you need to initiate change, doing it from a place of telling a story or taking people on a mission towards a cause. And again, planning is key for impact. In order to assimilate all of the learnings that we are going through, it's really key that you give yourself the kindness and the space to really plan how you are going to land these key messages and in what way you're going to do that. So planning is key for impact. They were my takeaways for this module. What are your key takeaways? What is it that you are learning about yourself by facilitating this different perspective or this different lens on communicating like a leader? Making great progress. So you're now ready to move on to Masterclass 5, where we will be concluding this Masterclass mini-series by looking at how all of this comes together with our powerhouse active listening core skill to build trusted relationships. I look forward to seeing you there.